So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the first module for NAJALA University, Sierra Leone. My name is Rachel Cobb, and today my colleague, Dr. Malik, will be going over the module for ISO 17025, which covers laboratory accreditation and training. So this lab accreditation is developed under UNIDO's Competitiveness Program, and this is an EU-funded project. So next slide, please. So the Competitiveness Project is under the West African Competitiveness Program, the WACOM project, and there are essentially three pillars to this program. So the first is quality infrastructure, and these services are with respect to certification, testing, standards, calibration, and metrology. This is the pillar that your project is under. These services are either not available in Sierra Leone, or they're not already accredited, which is why we are focusing on them now. The second pillar is value chain development, and we have a focus on palm oil, cocoa, and cassava. The third is enabling business policies. So this aim is to enable trade on a global and regional level. Next slide, please. So UNIDO always takes a 3C approach, and this is an approach to link agricultural produce to an international market. So in order to do that, we develop the value chain through competitiveness, quality, and productivity. Then we develop the produce to conformity to an international standard, and then once it has achieved this level, we can connect it to the wider international market. So that's how we cover the 3C approach. Next slide, please. So today is the first module for the ISO 17025, and this enables laboratories to demonstrate that they can operate competently, and that they can generate valued results, and this promotes confidence in their work on an international level. This means that Hi.
Yeah.
I don't know why it logged out then.
Yeah, please continue. It was a little break, but you can continue.
Sure. Is it still recording?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just start from this slide again, okay? So today's module on ISO 10, sorry, I'll start again. So this first module for ISO 17025, this shows that labs are able to demonstrate that they can operate competently and generate valid results. This will promote confidence in their work on an international level. It means that other labs and other accreditation bodies can accept the results without further testing, and this in turn promotes trade. So one of the things I want the doctor to cover now is what are quality infrastructures. So under this, we'll be talking about accreditation and conformity.
Thank you, Rachel. Basically, as briefed Rachel, that this quality infrastructure services is one of the part of the lab accreditation, and lab accreditation provides the international confidence and credibility. Basically, in the quality infrastructure network, there are many pillars and the many institutions and the many services should be available, and out of that, one of the services accreditation, and other is certification, third is standards body, and in Sierra Leone, as you know, the standard body is basically the Sierra Leone standard body. This service is available, but as far as the certification services is not available. We are going to develop the first certification body, indigenous certification body in the country at SLSB, and that is SLSB Management System Certification. So soon this service would be available in the country. Metrology lab is, uh, I mean, fully is at the international level is not available, but we are going to develop the mass metrology lab in the country that is required. And in future, this would be available as well. This testing lab need to be accredited from the accreditation body, and definitely accreditation body is not required in the country because there are few testing labs, and we would basically, our project has developed the accreditation body into the regions, and we will use this service from the region to get accreditation of the Sierra Leone testing labs. So any labs, either these are into the standard body, the labs into the private sector, the labs into the universities, they can go into the accreditation program. And for this, as I briefed you here, that for the medical lab, there is 15189 standard. Against this standard, if you apply this standard on the medical lab and the accreditation body accredits this standard, then this medical lab will be accredited. But for the testing lab, either it is industrial testing lab in the government sector or private sector, either at SLSB, either into the university, the standard relevant standard is ISO 17025, and this standard need to be implemented into the laboratory. For the inspection body and the certification body, I'm not going into detail, but definitely, as I briefed you, for certification body, we are going to develop the certification body as per this international standard at SLSB. But with respect to this laboratory, this is a global theme of the lab accreditation that tested once, accepted everywhere. It means once your laboratory uh, is accredited on ISO 17025 standard, then your test report should be accepted globally. That test report would be as equally accepted as any other lab test report that is accredited in the world, that would be accepted. So the level of your acceptance would remain same if your lab is accredited on ISO 17025. In case of Sierra Leone, in case of Jala University lab, yes, we are going to basically give you this awareness on this international standard, that is ISO 17025 standard, and we are going to basically implement this standard into Jala University. And once your people would be trained, then we would guide you how to develop the different procedure as per the different clauses of this ISO 17025 standard, because this standard is the lab accreditation standard, and as I briefed you, once implemented and basically accredited, then your lab test result would be accepted globally. So this standard basically started in 2005. Before 2005, it was just ISO Guide 25. But in 2005, the first standard version of this standard came, and it was ISO 17025-2005. But after that, in 2017, another version of this standard came. That is the latest standard, that is ISO 17025-2017. And we are going to basically give you training, and we are going to guide you for the implementation of this latest standard, that is ISO 17025-2017. Definitely in this standard, if we go to open this standard is for the testing lab, this standard is for the calibration lab. This standard, as I briefed you, this standard is not for medical lab or pathology labs. That is another standard, that is ISO 15189. So if you open the standard, where there is a shell, it means requirement. And where in the phrases and in the statement, the standard has used the word should, it means it is recommended. Okay, it is a recommendation. And where the standard has used the word may, it means it is a permission. Where it is a can, it means capability. When I will explain you the different clauses and subclauses of this standard, you will see somewhere it has been used shall, somewhere it is should, somewhere it is can. But you should understand the meaning of these standard. This is just an image of this international standard, ISO 17025 standard, 2000. This is a variant, 2017 variant. You can basically get the copy of this standard either from ISO International, or you can get the copy from National Standard Body, that is Sierra Leone Standard Body. And definitely I would basically suggest you to please contact with Sierra Leone Standard Body so that you may get your official copy from Sierra Leone Standard Body, because you must have your official copy. This is just the first page of the standard. Normally, the first three clauses, that is clause number 1, 2, 3, these are very simple clauses, because this first clause is just a scope. The scope of this standard, as I briefed you, it is testing lab or it is a calibration lab. In case of NAJALA University, definitely it is basically the NAJALA University testing lab, that is food testing lab or the food safety lab. Then these are normative references. What other references has been used in this standard? This is just for information. And what are the different terms and definitions sorry, of the different words that we will use into this standard along the explanation of different classes? We will basically discuss all these terms and definitions. So I'm not going to discuss it separate, because it is difficult to understand without context. When we will discuss the different classes, you will be better understand these terms and definition, and we will discuss these one by one. So the clause number 4 is basically actual clause where we have to implement this standard. And this clause number 4 of ISO 17025 is the general requirement. It gives you general idea what should be available into your lab if you are going to implement ISO 17025. And then we will discuss clause number 5 in this module, and this class number 6, 7, 8, we will discuss in the next modules. So what is this class number 4? Class number 4 is basically a simple class. There should be some structure available into your lab. The lab should be basically legal identity. In case of government lab, as Jala University lab is a government lab, that is why it is already a legal entity. And there should be some responsibilities, there should be some authorities in your lab, and the persons who are basically working in the lab, they should be impartial. Normally in the industrial labs or the private labs, some of the people are not impartial because they are working into the big organization, and along the way they are testing their own product into, normally the laboratories, those are into the premises of the industrial manufacturing units. They are somehow not impartial sometimes because they are working under the same person who is the in charge of the manufacturing unit, and who is the in charge of this basically lab as well. That is why there should be clear bifurcation in between the persons who are working under the lab and who are working under the manufacturing unit. The overall person who is handling the manufacturing unit, lab should be reported to somewhere else. But this is not the case of the Jala University. That is why this impartiality clause is already fulfilled. And this then is the requirement of the confidentiality. Confidentiality is the subclause of the main clause. clause number 4, that is the general requirement. So confidentiality means basically if some of the customers are coming to your lab and they are going to test their produce. For example, if some of the agriculture or some of the cassava growing people basically coming to your lab and they are going to test their produce. So the test results that you will get after basically testing their produce, that should remain confidential with you, because maybe their competitors sometime want to get these results and then it will not be good for the lab. That is why all the test results, those are basically going to be generated in the lab, that should remain confidential unless and until they are harmful for the normal public. For example, some of the water manufacturing companies are going to test their water from you, and all of a sudden you find that there is a lot of, I mean, bacteria into some of the typical water manufacturing companies. So then this confidentiality clause will not work under you. You can inform this thing to the relevant government authorities so that they may take the step, and then they may save the life of the normal human being. In that case, only this clause would not be applicable. In all other clauses, in all other conditions, confidentiality of the test results should remain intact into the lab. This is again same clause. I am going to explain now the clause number 5. When you will open the standard, you will see different clauses one by one. At this initial stage, I am not going in detail with each clause because this is just an introduction of the standard. When we will go into another session, we will go in detail about each clause and subclause. So the clause number 5 is about structural requirement. Structural requirement, how your lab should be. I mean, what should be the organization structure of your lab? Okay, and if organization structure is available, who is quality manager, okay, in the lab, who is basically reported to whom, and what are the job description of the key people. All this is called basically structure of the lab. And in the structure of the lab, quality manager is a must. As per subclass 5.6, there should be some person who should be uh, maybe not designated as quality manager. You can give either name, either it is a quality coordinator, either it is a quality deputy manager or manager, whatsoever the name is. But there should be some dedicated person who should be basically uh, uh, maintaining the quality of the test result into your lab. Okay, so that is the key thing. That's all. I mean, in the lab, all the people must have written job descriptions with authorities, with responsibilities, and then there should be organogram in which we can see that who is reported to whom. Okay, and other than that, there should be some nominated quality manager or quality coordinator. So we have discussed up to now clause number 4 and 5 of this ISO 17025 standard. And meanwhile, I will request you to please get your official copy of this ISO 17025 standard from SLSB. And this is all about clause number 4 and 5 for ISO 17025. Clause number 1, 2, 3, those are simple explanation of the standard. I briefed you. But the actual clause with respect to implementation, it starts from clause number 4 and onward. Thank you very, very much. Over to Rachel, please.
So thank you everyone for listening today. On the screen right now, you can see we have the social medias for this project. So if you want to follow this project at all, you can find all our updates on the Twitter or on the Facebook. And so the next steps for us would be for you to watch this training, and then over the next few days, come up with some of the questions that you have over this first module, and we'll arrange for a live Zoom after this, so we can go over the feedback that you have for us. So that would be the next steps for us. Please get your questions together, and then we can have a question and answer session. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.